The house that wasn't meant for him. A tale of family, deceit, and revenge. Jason had always been the quiet one in the family, the one who stayed behind while his brother Noah soared ahead in life. Noah was the successful one, the one with grand stories, expensive cars, and an endless stream of achievements. Jason, on the other hand, had chosen a different path. He worked remotely, spending his days helping their mother through her sickness, keeping to himself in the small house where they had grown up. It was a peaceful existence, one that centered around caring for her, comforting her, and maintaining a semblance of normalcy. But everything changed the day their mother asked him to come over for their weekly coffee chat. This time, there was a weight in her voice, a heaviness that sent a chill through his bones the moment he stepped into the kitchen. She was calm, almost too calm, as she stirred her coffee. "Jason," she said, looking up at him with eyes that had long since lost their usual sparkle. "I need to talk to you about something." The words that followed felt like a punch to the gut. She was dying. Stage 4. Cancer. She had known for months but hadn't told him until now. The words blurred together as she explained, but all he could focus on was the pain in her eyes and the cold grip of reality that tightened around his chest. As she told him about her diagnosis, Jason's mind raced, and his world seemed to slow down. She had more to say, though. Something that, in hindsight, he would never forget. It wasn't just the cancer that concerned her. It was the house, their childhood home, the one he had helped her care for during her illness. It was everything. And Noah, his brother, was the last person she trusted to keep it safe. "You know," she said, her voice steady, "Noah will sell this house the moment he has the chance. He's underwater on his condo, and I've seen his credit card statements. I'm worried about him." Jason didn't know what to say, but then, without another word, she handed him a folder. It was thick, official. His fingers trembled as he opened it. And there it was, the deed, the signed deed transferring ownership of the house to him. No explanation, no fanfare, just the cold, undeniable truth. She had already talked to their lawyer, William. The paperwork had been drawn up months ago, and it was done. She had made sure that when she was gone, Jason would be the one to take care of their home. Not Noah. Not the brother who had barely shown up during their mother's battle with illness. Not the one who had always taken more than he gave. The weight of it settled on Jason's shoulders. His mother's voice broke through his thoughts. "I want you to keep it, Jason. I know you'll take care of it. And I know you love it. Don't let anyone take it from you. Not Noah." It was the final act of love she could give him. And yet it stung. Stung more than he had imagined it would. He had always tried to make her proud. But this was bigger than anything he had ever imagined. He looked down at the papers, at the life-altering decision she had just made on his behalf. And there was nothing he could say except, "Okay, Mom, I'll take care of it." But that was the problem. Jason knew, deep down, that Noah would never understand. He had never understood their mother's attachment to the house or the way she had sacrificed so much for it. Jason knew he couldn't tell him. Not yet. Not while she was still alive. Not while she was still trying to hold on to the pieces of their family. She didn't want drama. She didn't want a fight over the house. So they kept it a secret. Jason promised to keep it a secret until the day came when the truth would be revealed. The house would be his. But at what cost? The day after their mother's funeral, Noah showed up. Jason had expected it, though it didn't make it any easier. It had been years since Noah had stepped foot in their childhood home. But now, as he walked through the front door with that signature swagger, like he had just inherited the place, Jason couldn't help but feel a surge of disbelief. Noah, always the confident, successful one, was acting like nothing had changed. His eyes gleamed as he surveyed the house, already picturing the changes he would make. Jason stayed silent at the kitchen table, where he and their mother had shared countless cups of coffee over the years. The table had witnessed so much. Their laughter, their arguments, their quiet moments. And now, Jason sat there alone, feeling the weight of their family's history. He could hear Noah's voice, loud and clear as it echoed through the house, pointing out how he would modernize every corner. "This kitchen," Noah said, running his hand along the old countertops. Has to go. It's all so outdated. I'm thinking marble, stainless steel, real luxury. He looked at Jason with a smirk, his eyes filled with disdain. You've been living in this mess long enough. Maybe you should move out, little brother. You're not cut out for this place. Jason's heart clenched. The words stung more than he cared to admit. You're too lazy to deserve this house, Noah continued, his voice dripping with mockery. You've been working from home in your pajamas. What kind of job is that? Anyway. Jason's hand trembled slightly as he gripped his coffee mug. The anger bubbled up inside him, but he kept his face neutral. This was it. The moment he had been dreading was finally here. His brother had no idea how much he had underestimated him. Noah had no clue that Jason already owned the house. The papers were tucked safely in Jason's drawer upstairs, the eviction notice already drafted, ready to go. His mother's wishes had been clear, the house would never be in Noah's hands. Jason had followed through. And now he was about to make sure Noah paid for his arrogance. Jason couldn't stop the small, knowing smile that tugged at his lips. This was the moment when everything changed. Before I share what happened next, the moment that completely flipped everything upside down, I want to connect with you, my amazing viewers. Where are you watching from? Drop your country's flag in the comments below. And if you've ever had to fight for something you believed in, hit that like button because this story is just getting started. Trust me, you don't want to miss what happens next. Jason's fingers brushed the edge of the mug, the warmth of the coffee doing little to calm the storm brewing inside him. The silence stretched on, Noah oblivious to the storm he was about to unleash. The will reading was supposed to settle everything, but Noah didn't have the patience for that. The very next morning, Jason woke up to the sounds of power tools and shuffling feet. At first, he thought it was just a dream, the remnants of a restless night. But as he stumbled downstairs, the reality of what was happening hit him like a cold slap. Noah had already brought in contractors. They were tearing apart the kitchen, his mother's kitchen. The place she had lovingly crafted, where she had spent hours preparing meals, where they had shared conversations, laughter, and tears. Every cabinet, every counter, every inch of space had been touched. It was as if Noah couldn't wait for the ink to dry on the will before starting his plans. Jason stood frozen in the doorway watching as strangers ripped out the heart of their family home. He knew he couldn't let it go on, but a voice in the back of his mind, William's voice, reminded him to hold back. Document everything, he had said. Wait for the right moment. And so, Jason did the hardest thing he had ever done. He stayed silent. He picked up his phone and began to record. The camera clicked as he captured the chaos unfolding before him, photos of the demolition, videos of the workers gutting the cabinets, timestamps to prove when it all began. His hands shook as he watched Noah's oblivious disregard for their mother's wishes. This house had been her sanctuary. And now it was being turned into a playground for Noah's grand plans of modern luxury. Jason felt his anger rise, a knot forming in his chest. His mother had put her heart and soul into this kitchen. And now here it was, being stripped away like it meant nothing. But Jason held his ground. He didn't confront Noah. Not yet. He couldn't. The truth was still buried. The world didn't know yet, but it would. Soon. Very soon. The destruction continued. The workers moved onto the living room, tearing up the floorboards and pulling down the old wallpaper. Jason watched, his heart sinking with every swipe of the hammer, every piece of their history being discarded like trash. But then something happened that pushed him to his breaking point. Jason walked into the kitchen and saw one of the workers tossing something into the garbage, a small wooden box covered in delicate designs. Jason's heart stopped. It was their mother's recipe box, the one she had passed down through the years. The recipes inside were a treasure, family secrets, handwritten cards from their mother and her mother before her. No, no, no. Jason rushed forward, grabbing the box just before it hit the trash. He could feel the sting in his throat as he held it, the weight of the memories pressing down on him. Noah, still walking through the wreckage like he owned it, didn't even glance up. He just pointed to the corner and muttered, "Throw it all away. It's just clutter." Jason's anger flared, but he bit back the words. He couldn't afford to let his brother know what he was really feeling, not yet. Not when everything he had been building was about to collapse. Instead, he tucked the box under his arm, taking it upstairs to his room. It was a small victory, but it was one that mattered. As he sat on the edge of the bed, holding the recipe box close, Jason realized something he hadn't fully understood before. This wasn't just about the house. This was about everything their mother had stood for. Her values. Her legacy. The love and care she had put into this family, into this home. And Noah was about to tear it all apart for his own selfish desires. Jason couldn't let it happen. Not again. He looked out the window, the sun shining through the trees in the yard. He could almost hear their mother's voice, telling him to be patient, to wait for the right time. And so Jason would wait. He would let Noah destroy what he wanted to destroy. But Jason would be ready. The truth was coming. And when it did, Noah would wish he had never set foot in this house. Weeks had passed since Noah's reckless destruction of their childhood home, and Jason had held his tongue until now. The house, the memories, their mother's legacy, everything had been slowly ripped apart, and Jason could feel his patience thinning. He had waited long enough. He had the truth, the proof, the documents that would change everything. He was the rightful owner of the house, and Noah's time was up. But just as Jason prepared for the confrontation that would finally put an end to this madness, he got a visitor on Christmas Eve. The doorbell rang, and Jason opened it to find Noah standing on the threshold. His brother was a far cry from the confident, polished man who had once strutted through life with an air of superiority. Now Noah looked disheveled, his clothes wrinkled, his eyes wild with desperation. He seemed fragile. "Jason, please," Noah pleaded, his voice shaky, almost unrecognizable. I've made a mess of everything. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I need your help." Jason's heart twisted as he watched his brother crumble in front of him, but he didn't let his emotions sway him. Noah continued, his words tumbling out in a panicked rush. "The developers, the ones I've been dealing with, they're coming after me. They found out about the forged documents. They know I lied about owning the house. They're pressing charges, Jason. I don't know what to do. If I don't pay them off, I'll go to jail. Please, you have to help me." His face was pale, his eyes pleading. The arrogance that had once been his trademark was gone, replaced by something darker, fear. Jason stood there for a long moment, staring at his brother. The weight of everything that had led to this point pressed down on him. He could feel the familiar rush of anger rising, but this time it was different. This time, it wasn't just about the house. It wasn't just about revenge. It was about everything their mother had hoped for, the lessons she had tried to teach them, the legacy she had entrusted to him. And now, standing in front of him, was the brother who had tried to steal it all. Jason could feel his hand instinctively reach for the papers in his pocket, the property deed, the will, the eviction notice. He had the power to end this in an instant. To tell Noah that the house was no longer his to take, that it had been his all along. But Jason paused. This wasn't just about winning. It was about the truth being revealed. And Noah needed to see it for himself. With a steady breath, Jason reached for his phone and dialed Natalie, their sister. "It's time," he said simply. Then he called William, their family lawyer. "We need to handle this now." Jason watched as Noah's desperation grew. He knew the truth was coming, he could feel it in the air. But he also knew that this moment wasn't just about confrontation. It was about holding on to everything their mother had protected. It was about making sure Noah understood the consequences of his actions, not just for the house, but for their family. The silence between them was thick, and for a moment it felt like the entire world had stopped. Jason knew what he was about to do would change everything. But he also knew it was the only way to finally end the madness. He had everything in place, the truth, the evidence, and the support of those who mattered. "Sit down, Noah," Jason said, his voice calm but firm. "You're going to hear the truth today. And it's going to be a lot harder to escape than you think." As Noah reluctantly took a seat, Jason felt the weight of the past few months lift from his shoulders. The battle wasn't over yet, but it had finally begun. And for the first time in a long while, Jason knew that he was no longer fighting for the house, he was fighting for the future. For the family. For their mother's legacy. It was time for the final reckoning.